Picture Los Angeles, summer of '85. It's so hot the pavement shimmers, and nobody's sleeping. Doors are double-bolted, porch lights burn all night, and every dog in the valley barks at shadows. Somewhere out there, a guy is scrawling pentagrams on walls and leaving bodies behind. But 25 years earlier, that same prowler was just a barefoot kid in El Paso who'd rather curl up between gravestones than walk through the door of his own house. How does a playground kid turn into the Night Stalker? Tonight we're rewinding the tape, not to marvel at the monster, but to look the boy in the eye. February 29th, 1960. Yep. Leap day. Richard Leyva Munoz Ramirez arrived at St. Charles Hospital, the last in a line of 5. Mom, Mercedes, cleaned offices at night. Dad laid rail by day. On the outside, they were the classic church, Chance son Dordia's family. Behind the door on McGoffin Avenue, it was a different story. Had been a boxer and still treated the living room like a ring X. His sons were the punching bags. Richard caught 2 hard knocks to the head before 2nd grade, once from a playground swing, once from a boot that put him out cold. Doctors shrugged, called it boys being boys, and missed the concussions that would later show up on brain scans. Teachers remember a kid who stared holes into walls and flinched when a book hit the floor. Every family has that one cousin who shows up with wild stories and a duffel bag of trouble. For Richard, it was Mike Green Beret, Vietnam vet, and local legend. He swaggered into the Ramirez house around 73, Purple Heart on his chest, and a Polaroid in his pocket. Afternoons were spent under the hood of a beat-up Chevy, evenings in the garage where Mike spun war stories like campfire tales. Then he'd pull out the photo. A severed head balanced on a crate. "Look what we did to those gooks," he'd grin. Richard was 12. The photo became his bedtime story, the head a mascot. Violence wasn't just relit, was collectible. June 1976. Texas heat, tempers even hotter. Mike and his wife Jessie were yelling about money. She said he was blowing his disability on coke. Richard, 13, sat on the couch pretending to read a comic. Jessie screamed. Mike pulled his service revolver, and a single shot split the night. Ow. Jessie hit the tiles. Richard remembers 2 details like they rebranded on him: metallic rip of the shot and the blood spreading over the same floor he used to scoot across in his diapers. Mike pleaded insanity, spent 4 years in a state hospital, then walked free. The family scrubbed the grout, but the stain never really disappeared. High school bored Richard, so he dropped out after 9th grade. While other kids worried about algebra, he haunted the El Paso library, devouring paperbacks on the occult. Pentagrams felt like a second language, sharp, symmetrical, honest. He started wearing a tiny silver pentagram, a parting gift from Mike before the shooting. Whenever he lifted a car stereo or hot-wired a Buick, he rubbed that charm like a worry stone. Marked by the beast, he bragged, because it sounded less pathetic than hurt kid with a dented brain. Arrests piled up: first grand theft auto at 15. Then possession at 16, but every judge just handed him probation and a slap on the wrist. No one asked why a kid with head trauma and a murder memory kept acting out. By 78, El Paso felt like a cage. Richard bought a Greyhound ticket to California, chasing cheap rent and loud punk. In L.A., he crashed in flophouses, sold dime bags in parking lots, and moshed until dawn in underground clubs. The occult obsession went full throttle. He read Lavi's Satanic Bible, tagged pentagrams on club walls, and introduced himself as Ricky Ramirez from Hell. Friends shrugged when he talked about killing for Satan the way other guys debated guitar solos. Richard's California record started: small burglary, GTA, trespassing, catch, release, vanish. Probation officers wrote him off as having flat affect and creepy pride in violence. Years later, scans would reveal scar tissue in his prefrontal cortex, the spot that hits the brakes on bad ideas. Trauma plus brain damage equals a predator in the making. The pattern was already there. Lash out, get caught, nothing changes. Feels like watching a train crawl toward a broken bridge, right? Teachers, cops, judges, all of them saw the sparks, but no one stopped the engine. The question isn't just how Richard Ramirez became the Night Stalker. It's how many kids are riding the same track tonight. If you want court transcripts, expert interviews, the whole paper trail, they're linked below. And if stories like this matter to you, hit Hit subscribe, new deep cuts drop every week. So was he born broken? Or did the adults who should have protected him take turns swinging the hammer? 2 head injuries, years of fists and belts. Cousin who turned war crimes into show and telly? One of those might have been survivable. Stack them, and you get a man who thought life was as disposable as the Polaroids he once flipped through in a Texas garage. Next time a new monster scrolls across your feed, maybe the headline should ask, who handed him the weapon?